Here we are going to discuss about hydrogen bonding. Another physiochemical property is the hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding. So it's a versatile phenomena. It's a very unique phenomena. Okay, it generally observed in everywhere. Okay, it's a special type of dipole interaction. Hydrogen bonding is an special type of dipole interaction. It's a special type of dipole interaction. Okay, these dipoles are generally results from the unequal sharing of electrons between atoms and covalent bond. This hydrogen bonding is a special type of dipole interaction. Dipole, what is meant by dipole means dipole is results from unequal sharing of electrons unequal sharing of electrons between atoms within a covalent bond. So generally this dipole generally results from the unequal sharing of electrons between atoms within a covalent bond. We already know that covalent bond is formed by sharing of electrons. Like generally carbon forms bonds by sharing of its electrons. So to form a bond, this carbon donates one electron and this carbon donates one electron. They equally shares the electron. There is no donation here. They are equally shares the electron. This bond is the formed bond is covalent bond. But whenever this sharing of electrons is unequal, such that this Y atom donates one electron, but X atom donates partial electron, not complete electrons. In such case, the formed type of interaction is dipole interactions. So dipole interactions are generally results from the unequal sharing of electrons between atoms within a covalent bond. In order to form a covalent bond, the two atoms must equally share their electrons. The two atoms which are forming a covalent bond, they must share their electrons equally. So whenever the sharing of electron is not equal, that is unequal, sharing is unequal, such type of bonds are called as dipole bond. So hydrogen bonding is a special type of dipole interaction, and this hydrogen bonding occurs between hydrogen atoms in polar bond, hydrogen atom in polar bonds, and occurs between hydrogen atom polar bonds and electronegative atoms So this hydrogen bond generally occurs between the hydrogen atoms in a polar bond and electronegative atoms like oxygen, nitrogen and sulfur. So for example, for the polar bonds are the NH bond, OH bond, FH bond. So it's better to write fluorine also. So this hydrogen bond is a special type of dipole interaction. Dipoles are nothing but the dipoles are results from the unequal sharing of electrons between the atoms within a covalent bond. Unequal sharing of electrons in a covalent bond results in dipole such that this completely donating atom gets positive charge as it is donating completely its electron. When this X atom is not donating its complete otherwise this Y atom is sharing its total electrons, but X atom is not sharing electrons, that way it will get partial negative charge. This Y get complete positive charge, and this X get complete negative charge. This type of interaction is called as dipole interaction. So a partial negative charge atom, whenever it forms a bond with fully charged atom, that type of interactions are called as dipole interaction, So this hydrogen bond is a special type of dipole interaction. Okay, it generally occurs between the hydrogen atoms in a polar bonds and electronegative atoms. So generally this hydrogen bond is represented as, so this is polar bond. Okay, this interacts with this hydrogen bond interacts with the electronegative atom like oxygen. Okay, so as well as there is this is a hydrogen atom in polar. This bond is also a polar bond. This bond is also polar bond. This hydrogen in this polar bond interacts with the electronegative atom. This is electronegative atom. So hydrogen in polar bond. H in hydrogen in polar bond. So this bonding is called as hydrogen bonding. So whenever an hydrogen atom in a polar bond interacts with another electronegative atom, such type of interactions are called as hydrogen bonding. So this hydrogen bonding affects various other physiochemical properties, like this hydrogen bonding affects other physiochemical properties. So hydrogen bonding generally increases boiling point. So a compound with an hydrogen bonding will have more boiling point, more melting point, and water solubility. So whenever a compound or any molecule which having an interest towards an hydrogen bonding forming nature, otherwise a compound which has any molecule which has an ability to form an hydrogen bonding, in such compounds the boiling point will increases, melting point increases, hydrogen solubility increases. Also the hydrogen bond also affects strength of the acids. Okay, hydrogen bonding also affects strength of the acids. Okay, otherwise also this hydrogen bonding also affects spectroscopic properties. As well as this hydrogen bonding also affects surface tension, viscosity. Okay, as well as so also affects biological properties of the drug molecule. Okay, biological properties of the drug molecule. Always this hydrogen bonding also affects drug receptor interactions. So this hydrogen bonding phenomena can be seen in various compounds. Okay, those compounds which have polar bond along with the electronegative atom in such composition of compounds generally involves hydrogen bonding. The best example is water. So the water molecules are binded or attracted towards by this hydrogen bonding. Most of the bonding in water is generally hydrogen bonding. So this hydrogen bonding affects other physiochemical properties like BP, such as boiling point, melting point, as well as solubility of the drug molecule. Generally this hydrogen bonding favors enhancement of boiling point melting point and water solubility. Also this hydrogen bonding affects strength of the acids, and this hydrogen bonding also affects spectroscopic properties of the molecule, and it also has effect on surface tension, viscosity, and various biological properties of the molecule, as well as this hydrogen bonding can affect drug receptor interaction, can also affect the drug receptor interaction. This is about introduction to the hydrogen bonding. Okay, so one key point you have to remember is the molecules, otherwise the compounds which have an capacity to form hydrogen bonding are water soluble. So generally this is the hint, this is a key point you have to remember. A compound which having an ability to form a hydrogen bonding are water soluble. Okay, so the compounds which are capable of forming hydrogen bonding are water soluble. This is a key point you must remember. Any compound having an ability to form an hydrogen bonding, such compounds are water soluble. So this hydrogen bonding also helps us to predict the solubility of the compound. This is about the hydrogen bonding. These hydrogen bondings are generally two types. Okay, there are two types of hydrogen bondings are possible. Okay, the first type is intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay, and second category is the intramolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay, so what is the difference between intermolecular and intramolecular? Means this intermolecular hydrogen bonding generally occurs between atoms, two atoms, or otherwise simply I will write here, why to waste this. Okay, this intermolecular hydrogen bonding generally occurs between atoms of one or more molecules. Atoms of one or more molecules of a same compound. Generally occurs between the atoms of one or more molecules of a same compound. But this intramolecular hydrogen bonding occurs between atoms of same molecule. So this intermolecular hydrogen bonding occurs between atoms of different molecules of the same compound. Generally this compound is made up of one type of molecules or different types of molecules. If the hydrogen bonds exist between different types of molecules present in a same compound, such type of bonding is called as intermolecular hydrogen bonding. But intramolecular hydrogen bonding occurs between atoms of the same molecule. So within the atoms of the same molecule, if the hydrogen bonding exists, it is intramolecular hydrogen bonding. If the hydrogen bonding occurs between atoms of different molecules of a same compound, such a bonding is called as intermolecular hydrogen bonding. And here this intramolecular hydrogen bonding also called as chelation. this intramolecular hydrogen bond. This intramolecular hydrogen bonding is also called as chelation. This chelation results sometimes formation of 6 to 5 member ring system. The chelations generally help the compound to form 6 to 5 member ring system. So shall we see the examples which what is in our medicinal chemistry, intramolecular hydrogen bonding is most important than the intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Intramolecular hydrogen bonding is more important than the intermolecular hydrogen. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding generally makes the drug inactive. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding in general makes drugs inactive, and intramolecular hydrogen bonding generally enhances the pharmacological activity of the drug. So in medicinal chemistry, intramolecular hydrogen bonding is most favorable than intermolecular hydrogen bonding, as because intermolecular hydrogen bonding generally deactivates the pharmacological effect of a drug molecule, but intramolecular hydrogen bonding generally favors or enhances the pharmacological activity of the drug molecule. So let me see some examples. Okay, so we well-known example is salicylic acid. Okay, salicylic acid, what is the formula? Here we have OH group. OH group is here. Okay, they are ortho to each other. Okay, C double bond OH. Okay, so generally the hydrogen bond occurs between a hydrogen atom in polar bond. This is the OH is the polar band and electronegative atom of the compound. So this hydrogen generally forms an bond with this oxygen, electronegative oxygen. This is the hydrogen bonding. This drug is salicylic acid. And what is the type of this hydrogen bonding? It's inter or intra. It's an intramolecular hydrogen bonding. So this hydrogen bonding occurs within a molecule, but intermolecular hydrogen bonding occurs between different molecules. This is one example for intramolecular hydrogen bonding. And second example is orthonitrophenol. Second example is orthonitrophenol. Okay, this is OH. Okay, this is N double bond O. This is oxygen. There is a bond forms between this hydrogen and oxygen. This is also intramolecular hydrogen bonding. This compound is orthonitrophenol. Okay, so this is the best example for intramolecular hydrogen bonding. So let me give an example for intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding, the best example is a pyrazoline derivative that is antipyrine. Okay, so nitrogen, there is a nitrogen. Okay, this is the pyrazole ring, keto group. Okay, double bond. Here we have hydrogen. Okay, this is CH3. Okay, this, what is the name of this compound is 1-phenyl 3-methyl 5-pyrazole pyrazolone. Okay, 1-phenyl 3-methyl pyrazolone. So we have, this is one molecule, this is one molecule. This molecule is interacts with another molecule by hydrogen bonding, like this. Hydrogen of, this is another pyrazole molecule. Okay, pH. So another pyrazole molecule. So this type of interaction is called as intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Intermolecular hydrogen bonding. It is one molecule, it is another molecule. These two molecules are belongs to a same compound. Two molecules are belongs to a same compound. If the bonding occurs between different molecules of a same compound, such type of hydrogen bonding is called as intermolecular bonding. Whenever a bonding occurs between atoms of the same molecule, such type of bonding is called intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So this compound is antipyretically or analgesically inactive. Because this hydrogen bonding makes these molecules to be inactive. To make this compound analytically active, replace this hydrogen with CH3 atom. So when you replace this hydrogen with CH3 atom, you will get CH3, nitrogen, double bond O, pH group, CH3. Okay, here also we have to add CH3. Okay, CH3, there is a CH3, nitrogen, double bond O, CH3, pH. There is no a polar hydrogen to interact with an electronegative atom. There is no polar hydrogen here. So there is no formation of hydrogen bonding. So this molecule is analgesically active. But this compound, due to formation for these two molecules, due to formation of this hydrogen bonding, they lost their analgesic activity. So in order to provide analgesic activity to this molecule, it is simply called as antipyrine. It is anti-analgesic drug. Okay, so the hydrogen bonding can be removed by introduction of CH3 instead of hydrogen. We will get antipyrine. This is analgesically active molecule. So in general, this intramolecular hydrogen bonding generally makes the drug favorable to act, but this intermolecular hydrogen bonding makes drugs unfavorable to the activity. Okay, so this is about importance of hydrogen bonding. So this hydrogen bonding is very important at receptor level also. In order to bind a drug to the receptor, the drug must form a hydrogen bonding like interactions. Without forming any bonding between drug and receptor, there is no output. Otherwise, there is no biological output like pharmacological effect. Okay, in order to drug show its activity, it must form a bond between drug and receptor at site of action. This is about hydrogen bonding. Next physiochemical property is the protein binding. So what is meant by protein binding means the blood is made up. You already know about the composition of the blood. Blood is consist of proteins like serum. The blood composed of serum, albumin, as well is also composed of acidic glycoproteins. Acidic glycoproteins are also called as lipoproteins. So blood is majorly composed of water, hemoglobin. Along with this, we have proteins like albumin, acidic glycoproteins. This albumin is the most to this albumin, the drugs are generally forms a binding with this albumin. So most of the drugs are, they will forms a complex with this albumin protein. So most of the drugs, when you are taken, this drug will bind with the protein, majorly blood albumin, okay, serum albumin, and forms a protein drug complex, okay. It is an reversible process. It's a reversible process. So this protein drug complex will act as drug reservoir or depot drug depot. So this is about protein binding. So drug will bind with the protein, okay, at non-functional sites of the body protein. So whenever drug binds with the non-functional site of the body protein without showing any biological effect. Whenever it is drugs binds with the protein, there is no biological effect. This protein drug complex doesn't show any biological activity. No pharmacological activity or biological activity. So whenever drugs binds with the protein at their non-functional sites, the formed complex is biologically inactive, but this complex acts as reservoir or depot to the drug. Okay, that's why whenever you express the total plasma concentration is equal to total plasma concentration. That is the amount of drug. The total amount of drug in our body is equal to, otherwise simply it is generally represented as dt. That is the total dose, total concentration of the drug in our body is equal to df. df means free drug that is moving in the throughout the body. The free drug is nothing but it can move in the entire body, and there is a dp, that is the bound drug, that is plasma bound drug. So whatever the drug we take, it doesn't entirely distributes, is entirely not available in the free form. Some of the fraction of the drug will bind with the plasma proteins. Okay, this is about protein binding. There are some examples which have more affinity towards this albumin protein. I will give some examples. I wrote somewhere. I will searching for that drug molecules. Okay, where I wrote this. Forgotten somewhere. I'm searching for the. Okay. So, like examples like drugs which have more affinity towards this albumin protein are the warfarin. Example of drugs which majorly forms protein drug complex. The best example is a warfarin drug. Best example which have an affinity or ability to form drug protein complex is the warfarin. Another is tolbutamide. Tolbutamide. So this protein binding also affects various disease states, but its discussion is very waste of time. I will just follow. This much is enough for our examinations. Okay. Coming to the next parameter I have to discuss is the chelation or complexation. Chelation or complexation. chelation or complexations. So what is meant by chelation or complexation means? The definition is whenever a ligand donates its two electrons, otherwise are two electrons or electron pair to an metal, it is called as acceptor. Whenever a ligand donates its two electrons to an metal, it will result in formation of a ring structure. Whenever ligand donates its two electrons to a metal, it forms ring structures. These ring structures are called as chelates. So these chelates are formed by donor acceptor mechanism. So chelates are formed by donor acceptor mechanism. Whenever a ligand like drug molecule, it donates its pair of electrons or two electrons to a metal atom, it results or it forms a ring structure with the metal atom. Whenever ligand donates two electrons to a metal atom or its electron pair to a metal atom, it forms a ring structure. That ring structures are called as chelates. Generally metal, instead of metal write metal ion. Okay, M+2 and 2+. Okay, that is better representation. Whenever a ligand donates its pair of electrons to a metal ion, it forms a ring structure. That formed ring structures are called as chelates. Okay, the best examples for chelating atoms are so that atoms which has an ability to donate its pair of electrons are the nitrogen, oxygen and sulfur. Example for chelating atoms in the drug molecules are generally nitrogen, oxygen and sulfur. This nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur can donate its two electrons, otherwise pair of electrons to metal ions and forms ring structure. The ring structure are called as chelates. The best examples for chelating atoms are ligand atoms are the nitrogen, oxygen and sulfur. These complexations or chelation concept is generally used for treatment of poisons, otherwise antidotes. Used as antidote concept is based upon the chelation or complexation formation. Coming to the applications of this concept, applications is dimercaprol. Well-known drug is dimercaprol. So this drug is generally used for arsenic, antimony, gold, mercury poisons. Whenever a person is poisoned with arsenic or antimony, the best antidote for this arsenic poisoning is the dimercaprol. So dimercaprol used for antidote for arsenal poison, and as well as antimony poison, gold poison, mercury poison, such that the persons which the some of the persons they work in the arsenic industry or gold industry or antimony industry or mercury industry, the most of the time they will expose to these metals. These are called as heavy metals. You already know in organic chemistry. This whenever the persons who works in the industry related to these heavy metals, otherwise some process or some missions involve these heavy metals for their functioning. The persons those who handle these heavy metals, generally the body will expose to that metals. Whenever the body of the person is exposed to that environment, heavy metal environment, they will absorb some of the amount of these heavy metals. As a result, they will be poisoned. For the treatment of such a patients, we will use dimercaprol as an antidote for arsenal, antimony, gold, mercury poison. Gold, mercury poison. So this dimercaprol is an chelating agent. Dimercaprol is a drug. Okay, dimercaprol is an chelating agent. Chelating agent. So this dimercaprol donates its 2 electrons to these metals like arsenic, antimony, okay, mercury, and gold. So 2 electrons will be donated to these metals and forms dimercaprol metal complex, such that dimercaprol donates its 2 electrons to these metals and forms dimercaprol metal complex. This is inactive. This dimercaprol metal complex is inactive. It doesn't cause any side effects. So by this way, whenever the persons are poisoned with these heavy metals, this dimercaprol is used for antidote. The dimercaprol used as an antidote. Whenever a person is poisoned with the copper, whenever a person is poisoned with the copper, the best drug is penicillamine. So next example for chelate forming drug is penicillamine. This penicillamine used for treatment of copper poisoning. This penicillamine is used to treat copper poison. So that penicillamine donates its 2 electrons to copper atom. So it forms a penicillamine copper complex. This penicillamine copper complex is inactive, chemically inactive. So another best drug is are 8-hydroxyquinoline. 8-hydroxyquinoline. Okay. This is the 8-hydroxyquinoline is an antibacterial agent and antifungal agent. This 8-hydroxyquinoline acts as antibacterial agent, as well as antifungal. So these hydroxyquinoline, whenever administered an bacterially affected person, this 8-hydroxyquinoline forms complex with iron or copper of the microorganism. So generally these microorganisms contains iron or copper. Generally this hydroxyquinoline will form a complex with iron or copper in the bacterial structure or fungal structure. As a result, this complex it shows antibacterial activity or antifungal activity. So coming to the chelation and complexation. So chelation or complexion is nothing but whenever a ligand donates its pair of electrons to the metal ion, it forms a ring structure. These ring structures are called as chelates, and chelates are formed by donor acceptor mechanism. Here ligand is the donor, metal is the acceptor. Whenever a donor donates 2 electrons to the its acceptor, this donor acceptor forms donor acceptor complex. Whenever a donor donates its pair of electrons to the acceptor, this donor and acceptor forms a ring-like complexes. The ring-like complexes are called as chelates. The best chelating atoms are the nitrogen, oxygen and sulfur. Nitrogen, oxygen and sulfur. Okay, the best of applications are in the treatment of heavy metal poison. So dimercaprol is used for antidote for arsenic poisoning, antimony poisoning, gold poisoning and mercury poisoning. So and penicillamine is used for treatment of copper poisoning. And hydroxyquinoline is used as antibacterial activity, antifungal activity. So hydroxyquinoline, its antibacterial activity or antifungal activity is due to it forms a complex with iron proteins or copper proteins of a bacteria or fungi. So they forms complex with the iron or copper proteins of the bacteria. This is about chelation and complexation. With this we will conclude today class. In the next class we are going to discuss about bioisosterism, and next is we will discuss about optical and geometrical isomerism. So bioisosterism concept is very important and very regularly coming question in the examination. So don't neglect the next coming topic, that is bioisosterism. So that we will see in the next session. Okay.